Oh, there she is. Here comes trouble.
Yes,
Rach,
I
can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I see you. I hear you. The kitchen looks clean. It looks like a great time. Rach, I know you've got a lot planned for us today, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. Excuse me. Very quickly, why did you get involved with Travel Tribe? And tell us a little bit about your passion for the class that you'll be teaching today.
I decided to get started helping with Travel Tribe because I thought this was an excellent way to help people that are in need right now because I didn't know what else to do, and I thought this was a great way to also give back to the people that are at home because I know we're all stuck inside and could use a little entertainment, and we could all probably eat a little better, so I thought maybe I'd share some good recipes for that as well. And yeah, so I run a health and wellness website called Health My Lifestyle where I help people kind of transition to eating more plant-based or vegan food. So that's what I want to share today.
Amazing, Rachel. So yeah, for most, well, I don't mean for most people, but for lots of people who are vegans, for them, it's a passion, it's a hobby sometimes, but you took it a step further than that, right? You actually became qualified in plant-based nutrition, am I right?
Certification from eCornell and the Center for Nutrition Studies to do a plant-based nutrition certification. So I did that a couple years ago just so I had a better foundation of the health aspects of it and the benefits so I could better share it with everyone.
Yeah, and just for the people who are watching, two things. Number one, I have tried Rachel's vegan food and it is absolutely incredible. And number two, I've been following her Health My Lifestyle page for about a year now, and it is filled with delicious dietary tips, recipes, advice. I really recommend it. Even I don't profess to be a vegan, but I want to improve my diet a little bit, and it has helped me no end. Yeah. So, Rach, before I let you dive on into it, why don't you just tell us what we are going to be preparing today?
3 recipes we're going to make in 1 hour, but I promise it's going to be easy and quick. We're going to make a tomato and tofu casserole. We're going to make a 1-pot coconut lentil curry, and then we're making a cake, but it's just going to be in a mug because we're using the microwave, and it's going to be really quick, 1 serving, single serving cake. So everything else will be like bigger servings, multiple servings because I like to meal prep for the week, but the cake I just thought was a fun extra treat to make today.
You know what, Rach? I just want to comment on one more thing that you just reminded me of. I remember a conversation that the two of us had a while ago, and we were talking about microwaved foods. And I said to you, oh, I always assumed that microwave foods were like a no-go. They were unhealthy. And you explained that actually it's not that bad at all. For people, I'm sure there are other people like me who assume that microwave foods are, not the most nutritious way to go. Why don't you, if you can, just debunk that myth a little bit?
When it comes to the microwave, really all it's doing is just heating up the water molecules in your food, and there's really nothing wrong with heating or cooking food in the microwave. So just as long as you're not like overcooking something, there's always going to be like a slight decrease of some nutrients when you're cooking. They become like less active, like vitamin C is something that breaks down with heat. But most nutrients are still preserved in the cooking process, so heating it up in the microwave is still fine. The only thing with microwavable food would be like the pre-packaged food that comes in the freezer section. It's going to have a lot more, it's going to have like a lot more sodium and, just a lot more like processed ingredients that are maybe not as healthy.
Yeah, things you want to stay away from maybe. Amazing, Rach. Well, okay, and I guess it's important to say for you guys that want to replicate Rachel's meals at home, we'll definitely leave a full list of ingredients in the comment page of this video on the Travel Tribes Facebook page, and I'm sure, Rach, you'll have it on your own personal accounts as well, which you can remind our audience of at the end. All right, Rach, without further ado, the floor is yours. I'll be off screen, but here if you need me, okay? Have a great time.
Bye. All right,
Bye,
let's
sweetheart.
get started with this. So we have a lot we're gonna make in not so much time, but I promise we're gonna get through it. So first off, I wanted to start with the lentil curry. It's gonna be on the stove. Just a quick overview of what you're gonna need for these recipes. First off, yeah, check for the ingredients if you want to cook with me. I do have them on my social medias in the stories. They should be coming up in the comments and stuff if you want to cook along. The equipment you'll need today, we're going to have a big soup pot. We're making 8 servings of the lentil curry, so you'll want something that's at least 5 quarts or 5 liters, or you can half the recipe if you don't have this big of a soup pot. For the casserole, you want like a 9x9 baking dish. So I have just like this kind of baking dish, any kind works, glass as well. So make sure you have that on hand. And then, yeah, just make sure for the cake you have a mug. This, I think, is a 12-ounce mug. So at least, yeah, about 12 ounces is what you're going to need. And yeah, we're good to go. So first up for the lentil curry, we have 8 cloves of garlic. You're gonna wanna mince those. And my garlic cloves are actually kind of small. I hope you can see this. So you could chop them up. There's also like the pre-minced garlic that you can buy at the store if you want to use that. Or what I love using, we have this nifty gadget that like you put it in with like the little knives and you roll it. I'll show you in a second, and that minces it up for you. I did break it, so it doesn't quite close properly. But yeah, so it's 8 cloves, which seems like a lot, but you're going to want it, trust me, because it adds so much good flavor to it. If you don't have fresh garlic, you could technically use garlic powder, maybe a teaspoon of it, but it's going to be so much better with fresh garlic. It adds a really great flavor. So I'm just piling these into my little thing. I really don't know what this is called. I have it linked on my website if you want to check it out, to the Amazon link. It is kind of a lifesaver. It's like my favorite kitchen tool, I think. So I'm just piling these all in. If you're chopping right now, make sure you're making them like really finely minced. And here, I'll just show you kind of what it is. So it just like rolls across here, and it just chops it all up. It's actually really fun to do. So yeah, I don't know if you can kind of like see, it's all like minced in there. I don't want it to like spill out, but it like nicely, finely minces it. So I'm gonna put this on the pan real quick and show you. All right, I have my cameraman, so he's going to bring you around as well. My husband Daniel's helping out so you can see what I'm doing. So we're gonna start with the garlic. Okay, so add your garlic in. I probably should have turned my stove on already, but I'm not prepared. Gonna put that in. I'm just gonna give it a little bit of water to get it all out. Okay, so I like to add like a little water to it and shake it up and dump it in. Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna set that aside. Get the garlic off my fingers. Okay, so we're gonna turn this on, and I'd say just over like medium-low heat. Okay. Not medium heat right now. Okay, and we're only going to cook with water today. You can totally cook with oil if you want. I just prefer to cook with water because oil is really, it's 100% fat calories, and it's a very, in that sense, it's a very processed food, and I try to stick to whole foods. I really advocate for a whole food, plant-based diet, so I really try to avoid oils as much as possible, but you can actually cook fairly easily without them. You just could use water, which is what we're going to do today. You can use veggie broth, even like the cooking wines. There's a lot of different things you can do. So today we've got water. I have a little cup right here to help. So I'm just going to add like a little bit in, just so it doesn't burn, but I'll show you how easy it is. I don't know if you want to come and see what I'm doing in there. Yeah, there we go. Excuse me. So I'm just gonna let that heat up. I'm actually gonna turn up a little higher so that these get to sizzling, and we're gonna cook this on the stove for a few minutes until it starts kind of softening and becoming a little more like translucent. I don't know if you can hear it starting to cook around. Let me know if you're cooking at home as well. Carla's saying it's like a pencil sharpener for garlic. That is right. It really is. I love that little kitchen tool. Yeah, let me know in the comments where you guys are at. Is it lunchtime for you, dinner time? I'm kind of curious. It's going to be dinner time here soon for us. So I'm excited to have all this food ready just in time to eat. So it's getting a little dry in there. I usually just like to get it to like dry out a little, so you kind of see it to start browning. And then you deglaze the pan with more water. So I'll show you that in a second. Okay, it's getting kind of dry over there. I'm gonna add a bit more water, just kind of like a tablespoon or two at a time. You don't want to like boil it, you know, but you want it so it doesn't burn. So we're going to stir this around for a few more minutes, just until it gets a little dry again in there and the water kind of evaporates. Yeah, it's smelling really good. I wish smell-o-vision was a thing, because the smell of garlic cooking is probably one of my favorite smells. If you are doing the garlic powder, you're just going to be skipping this step right now, and we can add it in with the other stuff. I know sometimes it's like hard to find the fresh stuff right now. So yeah, garlic powder you could definitely be using too. Okay, this is starting to go now, so just a second. We are going to add the curry powder and the, the coconut milk and the tomato paste. So let me get that just a second. Okay, yeah. So we've got 2 tablespoons of curry powder that we're going to be using. You know what? I think I'm going to put in, yeah, we'll go ahead with the curry powder and the tomato paste. I'm going to turn this down real quick and just add a little more water so it doesn't get too dry. So I'm going to stir that around. And then it's 2 tablespoons of curry powder, which is easy. And this is like the only spice you'll need. Like curry powder is a blend of spices, so it's really convenient. If you can't find curry powder, you can make your own with the blend of spices. Just look up the like basic ingredients you'll need and kind of mix them together. And it's pretty easy that way too. So I'm just kind of stir this around and maybe get the curry powder heated up a little bit. I'm gonna add a little more water. Get that going. Stir it around. And then we're gonna do the tomato paste, which I have these tubes here. You might have a can. That's pretty common to find, but we have tubes here in Mexico. Is this my new? Okay, so we're gonna squeeze this out first. I don't know if you can kind of like see what I'm doing. I'm gonna squeeze that in. If you have a can, put it all in there. Tomato paste is like a concentrated tomato puree. It's gonna give it a lot of flavor. I'm gonna call that good so I can get the other one. And it's gonna be 2 cans, so it's gonna be super flavorful. Super tomatoey and coconutty. I'm very excited about. Okay, so we got that in, and now we're gonna add the coconut milk. Okay, so we have 1 can of coconut milk. I already have mine pre-opened and ready to go, so we're gonna put that in and stir this all together. Lovely, hope you can see that. So just blend this all together and kind of let that tomato paste work down in there. I'm going to turn up the heat again. So that starts blending through. And basically you just want the tomato paste to then dissolve into the coconut milk. So we're going to heat this for a few minutes. See, we have someone from Poland here. Awesome. I don't know what time it is there, but probably past dinner time. Hopefully you can still maybe try these recipes tomorrow. So this is starting to blend down a bit. So just keep stirring. Let me know if you're at home cooking with me. And let me know how it's going. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comment box. So I'm just kind of using the back of the spatula to kind of squish the tomato paste down and blend it in a bit more. Stir that around. If you have like a whisk, maybe that would also kind of help to break it apart, but any sort of spatula or spoon will work. It's looking really good. The colors, it's kind of like a painting. It's not going to be as pretty as Crystal's watercolor later, but kind of looks kind of marbly right now. Might be hard to see on the screen. All right, we're just about there, and at this point we're going to add in the broth as well. I prefer low sodium vegetable broth. Any sort of broth will work though if you don't have veggie broth, or if it's not low sodium. So we'll get that next. It's going to be 8 cups of it, but I'm actually going to use something called Better Than Bouillon. It's like a concentrated mixture. So I'm going to add water in, and then I'm going to add the bouillon. It's like I really don't know how to describe it, but it comes in a little jar, and then you keep it refrigerated. So I'll show you that in a second. It's about a teaspoon per cup. So I'm going to add 8 teaspoons of that in here. Okay, so that's looking good. I'm going to get my water. Have it pre-measured here. So I'm going to pour this in. Lovely, you can check that out. My Better Than Bouillon. Let me get my teaspoon. Where did I put that? Here's my teaspoon. Okay, so this is what I use, Better Than Bouillon seasoned vegetable base. I actually bought this from Kroger in the US and then brought it here with me to Mexico because I really like it. So I'm not sure if you're in Mexico, I'm sorry, I don't think you can get it here. So this is what it looks like. It's just like a little paste, concentrated stock, basically, vegetable stock. So I'm going to add that in. And you're going to need 8 of these if you also have Better Than Bouillon. Or just add in your vegetable broth or stock right now. So we got 3 in there. It is really thick, so it's kind of hard to get out. I'm not being super accurate though, it really doesn't matter because there's, a lot of leeway when it comes to cooking. You don't have to have the exact measurements all the time, like compared to baking. So even if you only had like 1 carton of vegetable broth, which is typically 4 cups, and you had to use water for the rest of it, I think I'm just gonna call it good. Let that melt in there. If you just had to add water for the rest of it, that's totally fine. You can just add like more spices or more salt or something like that to give it more flavor. So it's totally okay if you don't have the exact ingredients. I'm just kind of letting the rest of the Better Than Bouillon stuff melt into the water right now. The curry, I should say. So it's almost there. I probably need to heat it up a bit more because we want to bring this to a boil now because we're going to add the lentils, which are uncooked. So if you haven't yet, get your lentils ready. Make sure they're rinsed, and then we will add them in. I pre-rinsed mine just to have them ready to go. But yeah, get those ready next. Okay, I'm going to call that good. lentils. So I'm doing a full bag of green lentils, or not red and green. I think these are just green lentils. Red lentils will cook faster if you want to use those instead. I think red lentils are about like 20 minutes, and then green lentils take a little longer, about like 30 to 40 maybe, depending on how soft you want them to be. I think it's about 3 cups today, and I don't know the equivalent in grams really. This is about 500 grams, but really as much lentils as you want is what I think. We love lentils around here. So I'm adding those in. Lost a couple on the floor. It's fine. Get all of them in there. Perfect. And we're gonna bring this up to a boil. So you want your lentils to cook well. So I'm gonna give that a few minutes. And we'll move on to the next thing while it is boiling. So give that a second. It's very hot over here with all of the things running. While we're waiting for this to boil, if you want to make the casserole, you can start preheating your oven for that. I already preheated mine. This was ready to go because my oven is kind of finicky and I never know what temperature it's going to end up at. I think we need it at 425. Preheat it to 425. Mine is getting there. Mine's really close. It's at 400. So we'll give it a little longer. So turn on your ovens if you haven't yet. And I'll start with the casserole. That is going to be next. It's really easy though. You're going to need a mixing bowl for it. And that's really it, aside from the ingredients. So you're just it's like dump, mix, bake. So see if you have any comments. I'm sorry, spotty audio. I hope you guys can hear me. I might be cutting in and out. Dole and I are going to replicate the curry for dinner. Awesome. Very cool. I hope you guys like it. It's super easy and it makes a ton of food. It's like about 8 servings, maybe 9. It makes like a big bowl. Also, if you want to serve it with brown rice, that's really good. I didn't include that today because I didn't want to make things too complicated. But yeah, okay, it's good now. Good. I'm glad. Let me know if you guys can't hear me. And still waiting on that to come to a boil. So I say let's get started on the casserole. So yeah, let's move back up here. Thank you. Everybody can see me. Okay, so we're going to need, I'm going to use my water bowl to mix. Fine. So first up for the casserole, we're going to add 4 cups of crushed tomatoes or diced tomatoes, whichever you have on hand. So I have these little packets. It might be in a can for you where you're at, but we're going to just open these up and add them to our bowl. If you have fresh tomatoes, you could use those, but you want to make sure you have like all the liquid with them too, because the liquid from the tomatoes is what is going to cook our pasta. So definitely need a lot of liquid. I'm not measuring this. I should have. I'm just going to pour this in because I know it's about like 2 containers of this. They're about each a cup. I might need to add a little more because I think I remember now they might actually be 1.5 cups. So I think I only have 3 cups right here, but we'll see. We can add more later if it doesn't look like it's enough liquid. So get those in there. It's kind of splattering. Maybe an apron would be a good suggestion if you have one. Okay, empty those out. I'm just going to check. This is not quite to a boil yet. So keep going with the casserole. Now we're going to do tofu. I have here silken firm tofu because it's really hard for me to find like the actual regular extra firm tofu, but this actually works pretty well in this recipe too because it crumbles really well. It's a softer texture. If you don't have tofu, you could add really any bean to this recipe. This is why I love these recipes because they're so versatile. Like if you don't have one ingredient, you can substitute it for something else. So like lentils would be really good in this. Maybe even like any kind of white bean would be good. So yeah, if you have a couple cans of that, add that instead. Otherwise, we're gonna do tofu today. So I'm just gonna, it has a little bit of water in it still, but that's fine. You know what, we're gonna roll with it. If you are using tofu, try to drain out the water as much as possible, but you really don't need to press tofu to get the excess out, because really more liquid in this is fine because it's gonna help the pasta cook. So I'm just adding, you know what? Nope, it's fine. We're gonna go with it. I was thinking we could add the spices first, but this will work too. And then grab your spatula, and I'm just gonna break this up. If you do have the firm tofu, you might need to like crumble it in your hands first and then add it in. But this is such soft tofu that I just like slice it through and it just falls apart. So that makes it easy. So I'm just gonna kind of poke it. And you just want it to be like, it doesn't need to be like super blended, like chunks of it are totally fine. You just want it to be kind of well mixed so that there are like small bite-sized pieces still left in it. And this is gonna add some nice protein to the dish. Tofu is a great source of protein. Really like soy in general is great if it's minimally processed. So things like tofu or soy milk, soy yogurts, edamame, all of those are great sources of protein in a plant-based diet. So I like to have soy fairly often. I also drink soy milk every day, which I love. It's really similar to cow's milk because it has almost the same, like identical, like protein profile. So it's nice that it like fills you up just as much as like regular milk would. And it's creamy. It's really good in coffee as well. And unfortunately, we're out of it here. So I'll be using almond milk today, later for the cake. But yeah, I'm team soy. So, all right, I'm getting this almost mixed. Just takes a few minutes. It might actually have been faster to just crumble it with my hands, but I'm trying not to get too messy today. If you have washed your hands, go ahead and do that. I washed my hands before starting, so maybe I could have, but. All right, we're gonna call this good, and now we're gonna move on to the spices. And our lentil curry is still waiting to boil. So if yours has started to boil, then you can turn it down to a simmer and cover it with a lid, because we want to keep in the moisture as much as possible. You don't want it to like cook down and evaporate too much. So if your stove has heated up faster, if you're like doing half the recipe, then yeah, go ahead and do that. And now we're gonna add the seasonings to our casserole. So we have a half teaspoon of dried oregano. We're gonna do that first. And actually pretty much most of the seasonings that go into this, we'll use the half teaspoon, so don't lose it after you measure one. And mine's like not completely like crushed. It's kind of like still whole leaves, but it's fine. We're gonna go with it. It's gonna be like a nice flavor bomb of oregano in our mouths later. And then we have onion powder, so another half teaspoon. Just gonna go ahead and measure that out, sprinkle that around. Okay, and then a half teaspoon of garlic powder. Yeah, love garlic powder. If you have leftover garlic from earlier, you could even add that into this dish as well, or extra garlic. But I like to keep things simple usually and use the powders because they're so convenient. Next, we're going to do black pepper, which is also a half teaspoon. And I'm going to just go ahead, do that, sprinkle that in. And then the one thing that does change is salt. We're going to do a full teaspoon of that to give it a lot of flavor there. So where is my whole teaspoon? There it is. Okay. So that's all the seasonings. And you just want to mix this up really thoroughly to blend it all together. Make sure there's no like pockets of one flavor, one seasoning in there. You want to make sure it's blended well. Okay. And I see that the lentil curry has just started to bubble. So I'll give it like another minute or so, and then I'm going to turn it down to a simmer and cover it. And that's going to simmer for 30 minutes. Sorry, I didn't mention that sooner. If you've already done that, about 30 minutes if you're using the green lentils like I am. If you have the red lentils, you probably only need 20 minutes to cook them down, because those cook really quickly. So don't forget to put on a timer for that. Okay, I think the casserole mixture is pretty much ready. And then you're gonna add your pasta to this. And it's dried pasta because it's gonna cook in the oven. I may need to add the extra tomato, I'm not for sure yet. We'll see how the pasta looks in this. So it's 250 grams of pasta. Really any kind works, but I think this is rotini. We'll see, I'm not a pasta connoisseur, but or penne works too. I'm using whole grain pasta today. I personally like whole grain because it does have the extra fiber and protein with it, as opposed to like the refined white pastas that you can find. There's also now like a lot of bean pastas available, which are great too, and that would work fine as well. There's like chickpea pasta, black bean pasta, there's even lentil pasta. So any of those, if you want to add, would be totally fine as well to even up the protein even more in the dish. So I know people are like crazy about protein right now. Actually, they're always crazy about protein. So we're going to make this a nice high protein dish with our whole wheat pasta and our tofu. So this is 240 grams that I have in here. It's about half this bag. I think, I'm sorry, I don't know, this is cutting out. So I don't know the cup equivalent, but probably at least a few cups of pasta. Yeah. Hopefully my bowl is big enough for all of this. Okay. So now you just want to blend your pasta into the rest of the mixture and get it like nicely coated. Would farro work? I never know how to say that. I've actually never used that before in this dish, but I don't see why not. You could try it and let me know how that turns out. Really like any whole grain will be fine. I think I'm going to add that extra pasta or that extra tomato sauce after all. If my lovely assistant could hand me it, because it is kind of dry. Yes, thank you. So yeah, if it's kind of looking like it's not gonna like fully cover all the pasta so that the pasta stays wet in your dish, add a bit more. So I think I am technically missing a cup of the diced tomatoes. So I'm gonna add like about half of this in, a little less than half. And you know what? I'll just measure it so that it's accurate. About half. Okay, yep. So I'm adding in the extra tomato sauce, diced tomatoes, there we go. There's so many tomato products on the market, I just always mix them up. So, blend this all together. Okay, that is boiling now, I hear it. I'm going to turn this down to a simmer and cover it. And we're gonna set a timer for 30 minutes. Oh, we are running out of time already, oh no. Okay. I think this is ready to go, so I'm going to add this to my pan. And You really don't need to like grease it or anything. It comes out pretty easily. This is a non-stick pan though, so if yours isn't, maybe you want to. A little oil for that is totally fine. Just to keep it from being a mess later, to get it out of the pan. So, got that all in. And spread it all around. Just try to flatten it out as much as possible. And if some liquid is in one side, move it around so it's evenly spread out. I think that's good. And if you don't have the eggplant or the zucchini, that is totally fine. You could just serve it as is. Some additional options are you could do, I was thinking like sliced tomatoes on top, or maybe like sliced tomatoes and black olives. I thought would be a really good variation. Is my lovely assistant available by the hour? Got a curry I need to cook tonight. I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to keep him here, unfortunately, you know, with the whole social distancing, but maybe later, maybe once we're all out and about again. All right, so I've got my eggplant that I'm going to chop up. You just want to do like thin slices, and we're just going to layer this on top to make it nice and pretty and add more veggies to it because we all need more fiber. A fun fact, because I am a nutrition nerd, is that it's like people in the US get twice as much protein as they need and only half as much fiber that they need. And colon cancer is on the rise because of it. So try to get your 30 grams of fiber a day. It's about 30 grams of fiber on average for both men and women. It varies slightly, but yeah, make sure you're eating your fruits and vegetables. All right, so I'm just slicing this about like a 1/4 inch. I'm not being like too picky about it because it's just gonna go on top and be a decoration really. I mean, it's gonna add some flavor, but it's totally not necessary if you don't have it or if you don't like eggplant, which is fine too. I usually make this with zucchini, but we couldn't find it, so eggplant is just as good. And I'm getting to the end of this. These are really big rounds though, so I'm not sure how exactly I want to decorate this. I might just kind of do a little spiral. I don't know. We'll go with it. Should I cut them in half? Maybe that would look better. Let's try that. So they're like little crescent moons. All right, my assistant says crescent moons. So I'm not being super specific about it, consistent, I don't know. Like I'm just throwing them on there. It's going to be delicious either way. And just kind of make it look like a flower maybe. This is where your creative side can come out. It's not like cake decorating, but you know, you can feel fancy if you want to. And I'm gonna slice these up. This is a nice simmer. I'm gonna turn it down a little more. So it's kind of at a roaring boil instead of a simmer. Okay, so almost got this ready. And we pop this in the oven for 30 to 40 minutes until your pasta is cooked through. That looks lovely. I should have done it the other way. It's fine. So do it like that. Do it however. Add your veggie on top. And we're going to pop this in the oven now. And my oven got a little hot. I'm not good at regulating ovens here because it doesn't do it for me, so I'm gonna let some heat out. Yeah, it's getting there. It got up to 450. You want it at 425. So, all right, well, I'm just gonna turn that down and we will put that in for about 30 minutes, maybe less because my oven's hotter right now. So that's fine. Let's do cake now. All right, this is the part I'm excited about because it's delicious and it only takes like 6 minutes to make. So get your mug ready, guys, while your other stuff is cooking, and we're gonna just have a little treat while we wait for this other stuff. Okay, so first up, get your peanut butter or your almond butter. I have all natural peanut butter here. Almond butter might work better because it's more like liquidy, more drippy. It's viscous, less viscous? Less viscous. All right. This is more viscous. So I'm actually going to use a fork to kind of whisk it in my mug, and I need my tablespoon. That's what I needed. Okay, so it's a tablespoon and a half of your preferred nut butter. Add some leftover curry powder in that. 350. For the oven, it's going to be at 425. Sorry, 425 Fahrenheit, or I think that's around 220 Celsius. I'm not for sure though. That's a Google. I'm gonna scoop my peanut butter out of here. It is kind of solid. This might take a little bit of work to blend it in. Huh?
Some hot water.
Yeah, maybe.
Just a splash.
Actually, it's okay because we're gonna make this work. I don't want to add like too much liquid to it. You could add like hot water, as Daniel was saying, to like make it thinner. I just don't want it to have too much water in it, and then the ratio of liquids is off. So we're just gonna go with it, and then it's gonna be a tablespoon and a half of your nut butter. I'm gonna call that good. And then you're gonna add, I'm sorry I'm changing this from the original directions or the original amount that I sent out. I'm gonna do 6 tablespoons of whatever milk you want. I'm doing almond milk today. I think that's gonna come out a bit better. So, I tested it the other day. Okay. I'm gonna do 6 tablespoons of your plant milk and then a half teaspoon of vanilla. I should have mentioned this. Okay, wait. Before I lose count. 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Oh, can you touch the screen because it goes dark? Thank you. For milks, make sure you shake them up first before you actually like measure things out, because calcium settles to the bottom when it's a plant milk. Just an FYI, shake it up before you use it. I didn't do that this time. But you don't want to miss out on your calcium. So, where did I bring a fork out yet? No, okay. Let's go ahead and do the vanilla first, and then we'll whisk it all together. So get your half teaspoon of vanilla. And I'm gonna rinse this real quick. And because we don't want any like garlic powder in our cake. That would be bad. Okay, half teaspoon of the vanilla. I like pure vanilla, but if you have the like artificial, totally fine. Gives a nice vanilla flavor. Okay, so now we're gonna whisk it with our fork. I'm gonna just kind of like chop it. I'm just kind of pushing the peanut butter against the side of it with the fork to break it down and kind of blend it into my nut milk that I have here. It's totally okay if there's chunks in it though. I'm gonna kind of like stab and whisk. That's the proper technique for this. Chunks of peanut butter or nut butter or whatever, almond butter, totally fine. It doesn't have to be super smooth because it's a mug cake for you and it's gonna taste delicious anyway. I have not made this cake in the oven. It's really only made for the microwave. So if you don't have a microwave, I'm super sorry. If you have a toaster oven, maybe that would work. I wouldn't recommend doing like a whole oven, like don't heat it up just for this, like 1 serving. But a toaster oven, maybe at 350 for like 10 minutes and then check on it. That could work too. So we're just about there, mixing it up. I still have some bigger chunks. I'm trying to get them down to be pretty small. I'm sorry I'm saying chunks so much. That's kind of a gross word. I'm sorry. I don't know a synonym, but it's fine. Small particles of peanut butter. Totally okay. All right. I'm gonna call the, still got bigger pieces. Pieces, there we go. That's a good synonym. Alright, we're gonna call it good because we gotta get moving on this cake. So next up we're going to add the sugar. I'm using coconut sugar today, 3 tablespoons. I have not tested this with any other sugar, but I would say refined white sugar is probably okay. I haven't tested it with maple syrup or agave syrup. I think that would maybe be okay, but it might not like rise as much or be as fluffy. It might be more like fudgy, or not fudgy because it's not chocolatey. This is a snickerdoodle mug cake. I don't know if I mentioned that, but it's yeah, it's going to be more dense, I think, if you don't use like a granulated sugar. So I have my coconut sugar here. And I'm going to rinse this off real quick, my tablespoon. And if my lovely assistant could give me a paper towel just so I can get it dried off. I don't want to get moisture in my coconut milk, thank you. Or not my coconut milk, my coconut sugar. Because that will just ruin it. I'd be very sad. Alright, got that nice and dry. So 3 tablespoons. Kind of seems like a lot, but really for baking, to get it to like rise properly and crystallize and get that fluffy cakey texture, you're going to need 3. So that was 2. Thank you, lovely assistant. I can't talk and bake at the same time. I get distracted and then I lose count. Okay, after that we're going to add our cinnamon, a 1/2 teaspoon. And my 1/2 teaspoon's wet, so I'm going to go ahead and use my 4th teaspoon a couple times for that lovely cinnamon snickerdoodle flavor. And what is last? We need our baking powder and our salt. I'm just going to sprinkle in the salt right now before I forget. A little sprinkle of salt, pinch of salt, just a little bit to really make the flavor pop. Baking powder. So I have my instructions over here, so don't forget everything because baking is a science and you don't want to mess this up. So I've got a teaspoon of baking powder. What do I want to use for that? I'm just going to go ahead and wipe off the cinnamon from that. And measure this out with a 4th, so we need 4 of these. And you want to kind of level it off if you can, so you don't have any extra baking powder going into it. So 1. Baking powder's kind of solidifying. 2. 3. If you have like a whole teaspoon, you don't have to be measuring it this many times. I'm using a 4th teaspoon right now, so just 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And then we're going to add in our flour. Today I'm going to use whole wheat pastry flour, but if you have oat flour or I think most gluten-free flour should work, or all-purpose flour would probably be even better. But whole wheat pastry flour today. I know it's okay. Let's see, and we're gonna need 6 tablespoons of that as well. You've got that all dried. And you do want to kind of level these off too. You don't want heaping tablespoons. I'm just going to go ahead and take this thing that closes it and do that. So we got 1. Oh, I'm going to make a mess. That is fine. 2. 3. 4. 5. Oops, didn't get enough in that scoop. 6. So 6 tablespoons of your flour of choice. I'm going to dust that off a little. And make sure that you're keeping flours in your freezer is really best to make sure that they don't go bad. I really don't like them in the pantry, so freezer it is. All right, now let's whisk this all together and it'll be ready to bake in our microwave. It's kind of like the Easy Bake Oven, but adult version. And you want it to be, mine's gonna be kind of chunky because my peanut butter wasn't fully mixed, but it's okay if there's like blobs of stuff. You want to make sure that the flour is fully mixed together so you don't see any like loose flour in there. So make sure like scrape the bottom, scrape the side of your mug, but try not to over mix it too much either. It's kind of like pancake batter really. So it doesn't have to be perfect. I think mine's just about ready. So you can see it's kind of like not super liquidy, like not exactly cake batter, more like pancake batter, which is totally fine. And I think I'm gonna call that good. And you can kind of just like scrape off the excess. It's not gonna be pretty, but put that all down in there. It's good to go. So we're gonna pop it in the microwave for a little over a minute. I think I'm gonna do between 70 and 90 seconds. You basically want the top of it to be dry. Like if it still looks a little wet, you might want to do like 10 more seconds extra. So just an FYI before we get going. Can you touch the screen again? It goes dark. All right, so let's do this. 70 seconds, go. So yeah, well, we've got that going. Okay, we've got about 12 more minutes for the coconut. Okay, so we're getting there. We're oh yeah. So if your lentils were the red lentils for the curry, you can test them to see if they're like cooked all the way through, if they're soft enough. Because yours might not need the full 30 minutes. So make sure to check those. I'm going to check my oven to make sure the temperature is right. Okay. Actually went down to like 400, so I'm going to turn it back up. So it's fine. We'll just going to have to like guess the temperature sometimes. Let me know if you guys are cooking at home. If you are making any of these, I'd love to hear. And let me know how it's going if you're cooking it too. I am thinking that, so these are exclusive recipes from my meal planning application that I have, and I'm thinking about also adding these to my website just so you guys can access them there later in case you aren't able to cook here today. Okay, actually I did 70 seconds and this looks pretty good. It's a little wet on top. I might do like maybe 10 more seconds. it is kind of like splitting at the top a little, but this is kind of what it should look like when it comes out. So it pretty much fills the whole mug. And now we're going to add our snickerdoodle topping to it. You're going to need some more cinnamon and some more coconut sugar or any type of sugar. If you were using like a liquid sweetener, that's not going to work for this, but you can add a little more cinnamon on top if you wanted. So for the topping, it's just like kind of a pinch each. I have it measured out to be like I think it's like a 1/4 teaspoon of each. So I'm just going to add them to my little dish here. Maybe like 1/4 of the coconut sugar, and then maybe just 1/8 of the cinnamon. And then mix it all together. It might be a little bit more than you actually need. But you could save it for later for a cake tomorrow or something. Make a cake for a friend. And while your cake cools a little, it is gonna like shrink a bit, which is totally fine. I don't know if you can tell, like mine's starting to go down, but that is fine. It's a cake for you, so it doesn't have to be pretty. So I'm just gonna kind of like sprinkle it on top. We'll just add it all, make it extra cinnamon sugary. So here is our finished cake. You can see that smells amazing. And yeah, that was a really quick cake if you ever need like a little treat. Yeah, you don't need eggs, you don't need oil or anything like that to make a cake. And I just say like be careful because it's really hot in here, and like a normal cake you can't take it out of the pan and let it cool on a drying rack. Like it's really hot, so it's going to need probably at least a few minutes to cool down. So I'm just gonna set that off to the side. And I think the curry might be almost ready. Oh yeah, so we need to add our veggies real quick while that is finishing up. And that's really kind of the last thing. The cashews and the cilantro are just for garnish if you want to add it, but we're gonna add some frozen veggies. I'm just doing, got my mango out on accident. Just doing a couple bags of mixed vegetables, whatever you have on hand. These are 500-gram bags, but any veggie will work. And you're just gonna add these in, and you just want it to like heat through. You don't really need to cook these because they're kind of like pre-cooked. So just like a few more minutes with that, and then your curry should be good to go. So, I'm gonna stir that around. Do you want to bring this around so you can see our finished curry?
Hey, Rach.
How's it going, Carlos? Are you getting hungry?
You're getting very, very hungry. I sat salivating in front of the camera for the whole hour.
Oh, nice.
I'll let you finish up.
What's that?
I'll let you finish up.
Okay, perfect. So if you want to come check it out, this is what, yep, there we go. This is what we got going. So I'm just letting the frozen veggies kind of break down and heat through. And if you guys are enjoying this class, don't forget to donate if you can. It's for a really great cause to help people right now.
Quick update. We're at, let me check one more time. Last check, we were, what is the page? Here it is. 1,330 American dollars.
Ooh, very exciting. We're getting there.
Nice. We're getting there, guys. Thank you. If you enjoyed, not that she's leaving just yet, but if you enjoyed Rachel's class and you have the financial means of donating, we would really appreciate it. It goes to children and other people that need it through this pandemic virus. The link is going across Rachel's video now. It is also in our group, and it is also on all of the individual posts that we've been posting throughout the day.
Yes, please check it out. All right, I'm just turning up the heat on this to let the frozen veggies cook through a bit more, so I can heat through. And really, once the frozen veggies are cooked and your lentils are cooked through, you're really good to go. At that point, you can dish up and add like some cashews on top and cilantro. It's also really great served with rice on the side. Yeah. So really whatever you want to do. You can eat it as is too, just as like a curry soup. So whatever your heart desires.
Rach, can we get a peep of that casserole before we go?
Yes, absolutely. So let's see, let me get my oven mitts and see how that is looking. And once your pasta is soft, it is done. It really doesn't need too much time. So I can see it's bubbling in here. It actually might be close to finished. So this is the finished.
Wow.
It should like firm up where you can actually like slice it like a pie.
Yeah.
And it'll like hold its structure. So if it's still too liquidy, then you'll want to pop it back in the oven for, you know, another 5-10 minutes until the water absorbs into the pasta.
Yeah, well, Rach, now you have me splitting my decisions over what we are actually going to cook tonight.
It's a tough call.
Yeah. Well, Rachel, you promised us 3 meals in an hour. You delivered 3 meals in an hour. You're a lady of your word. Thank you so much. Please remember to post the ingredients below, or we can do that for you. Your Instagram, tell us where we can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Health My Lifestyle. I'm also on Facebook at Health My Lifestyle, or my website, healthmylifestyle.com.
I really recommend it, guys. Like I said at the beginning, I'm no vegan. I would never pretend to be a vegan. I do care about eating a little bit healthier, and Rachel's is my #1 go-to for that. Rach, I will share one quick anecdote before I leave you. I just had an Instagram message of a friend from South Korea called Claire Francis that I've not spoken to in 4 years. She said, "Oh my God, I've been following Health My Lifestyle for almost a year now. I can't believe you guys know each other."
Oh,
so that's what happens when worlds collide. I love that.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so shout out to Claire Francis if you're watching. Thanks for being a fan of Rachel. Continue to follow her stuff. She only does good things.
Thank you.
All right, Rick, thank you so much for helping the charity. Thank you for your delicious meals. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Big love to Daniel, and we'll see you for the party at the end of the event.